After their thrashing of Napoli last week, Milan are the team everyone wants to watch. And their trip here to Verona, our featured match today. Well, will it be as sensational as their last visit here in April 1990, when they completely lost their heads and lost that season's championship? Evani is there. Tassotti has joined the wall, trying to make a nuisance of himself. It goes to Simone. Oh, a goal! Oh, and Van Basten, he wants a penalty. It's the second appeal that Milan have had in the second half. Both answered in the negative by Rosario Lobello. And Arrigo Sacchi is absolutely livid with the referee. Sacchi is sent from the bench. Here's the corner from Vanna. The header from Sotomayor. It's 1-1. An astonishing equaliser. And everything is going wrong for Milan here. Well, they protest the decision again. That could have gone either way, and it's gone Verona's way. And Rijkaard has spoken out of turn, and he must go off. 2 yellow cards. Frank Rijkaard is dismissed. And Van Basten, what's he doing? He's taking his shirt off. The referee is going to take more action here. I don't believe what I'm seeing. Milan are committing suicide. And Milan try to get an offside with their depleted ranks. Here's Pushetto. Verona now suddenly in with a chance of a most improbable victory. Have they got the attitude to try and take it? They certainly need the extra point if they can possibly come up with it. And Pellegrini is onside. Here's Pellegrini. He scored! There's another player gone. It's Costa Curta. Well, Milan field 7 of the side, which was disgraced in that notorious display. It would have been more, but Alessandro Costa Curta, one of the 3 red-carded players then, is suspended for another sending off last week. So is Mauro Tassotti for an accumulation of cautions, and Demetrio Albertini. Gambaro, Ancelotti and Galli, all capable replacements. And Ruud Gullit, not fully recovered from flu, is on the bench again this afternoon. Verona's team is much changed from that which achieved that famous victory at Milan's expense. But Davide Pellegrini, the scorer of the winning goal, is still here. And Pietro Fanna comes back into the side this afternoon because Robert Pritz, the Swedish international, is injured, along with the long-term casualty, Yugoslavia's Dragan Stojkovic. So at number 11, Florin Raducoju, he's the only foreigner in the Verona ranks. The referee, Alfredo Trentalange. Well, after that marvellous performance, even by Milan's mighty standards, it so captured the imagination of footballing folk with its sophistication when they made it a nightmare for Napoli last Sunday. But now it's back to business on a ground which does hold unhappy memories for Milan. Not just from the events here, getting on for 2 years ago now, but back in the 70s, Milan also were in a good position towards the end of the season to take a title, and a defeat at Verona proved very expensive, and they ended up amongst the also-rans. But they are brimming with confidence. Maldini. Davide Pellegrini, who's been joined here this season by his older brother Luca, a former Sampdoria player. So too Renica, who sends the ball long, also in his first season with Verona, and a pretty traumatic one he's been so far, in that Renica was sent off 3 times in his first 6 games for Verona in the Italian First Division. But they're relying on him in the centre at the moment. If the cross comes in, which it doesn't, because Bologna on his way back moved in very sharply for the interception. Raducioiu losing out to Evani. Now Donadoni. Incidentally, that win over Milan in 1990 didn't do Verona too much good in the long term. The following week they were relegated, and they did bounce back straight away. Unable to bounce back in that incident was Raducioiu, and the free kick given against him. Verona's return to the top flight, very difficult in the early weeks of this season. They lost 4 of their first 5 games. But Marco van Basten and his teammates will be well aware that since then Verona have been much improved, particularly in home games. And they've climbed out of the bottom 4, although just by 1 place. Fana, an extraordinary character who's been in 5 different championship-winning sides at 3 different clubs. Here's Baresi. Evani allowed to turn. Verona dropping en masse back behind the ball. It's going to be congested for Van Basten. They forced an error from him then. Attilio Gregori is the Verona goalkeeper. Once a reserve at Roma, then 3 years at Genoa. It's his 2nd season at his present club. Here's Icardi. Evani. Touched off by Van Basten. Evani. Massaro making a clever run. And the Renica. Oh, it's come for Evani! Well, it could hardly have been better teed up by a teammate on his strong left side. And Renica very relieved that Gregori was able to parry the shot. A stinging one it was. Donadoni with the corner. Gregori started to come and really was in no sort of position. He's on his way back now. And it runs beyond Massaro, but the first real thrust from the league leaders. And Gregori came up with the answer. It was a very good save. Fana. With Raducioiu to aim for. Filippo Galli keeping his eye on the ball. Wasn't too discomforted by the Romanian's presence alongside him. The stadium, you may well remember from the World Cup, the group here with Belgium and Spain, Uruguay and South Korea. It's a worthy setting. Pellegrini's coming in, and Maldini with two opponents to deal with. And he coped very well. Lofted forward by Rossi. Now Ancelotti. Navani. Icardi intercepting from Maldini. Swept forward by Rossi. Raducioiu can't control. Here's Rijkaard. Well, the target there for the long ball from Franco Baresi was Massaro, who's trying to sneak in on the blind side, coming in from the left. Van Basten. Complaints from Celeste Pin. Van Basten went in with studs showing. But what it was another example of how Milan do work to establish the right to show off their skills. Ivani to take the corner, coming up to 15 minutes gone. It was an opportunist effort from Gambaro. He started the first couple of games this season, his first in Milan's colours, when Maldini was suspended. To wait for another chance. Verona certainly have a stadium and support worthy of being in the first division. And their form, certainly as the season has progressed, suggests that they are good enough to stay up. What a boost it would be if they could get the better of the league leaders here. Very definite favourites to win the 1992 championship, offside against Davide Pellegrini. And the roars from the crowd, just more out of frustration really than any sense of injustice. We're halfway through the first half. Verona 0, Milan 0. Pin backpedaling. Down by Serena to Rossi. Stalwart in the pass with Torino. Icardi trying to get the ball forward too quickly, but the referee wanting to have a word with Ancelotti. So far the game being played in a very good spirit. Renica, twice in title-winning teams with Napoli. Not too sure how many steps Rossi took then. Wondering about whether he was going to be ruled offside. The ball actually took a long time coming down for him. Bologna. Fought hard to get the cross in, although the ball apparently had gone behind. Sebastiano Rossi, who's only ever been on the losing side in a league game for Milan on one occasion. It was last May when they were beaten 2-1 at Bari. And Saki was still in charge, although Capello was waiting in the wings for his assignment. Here's Maldini, whose early goal last week against Napoli really set the right note. Well, they haven't been able to achieve it here against the team very much in the lower half of the division. In recent years, these have been very tight games. There's never been more than one goal between the two sides in the last 7 meetings on this ground. There have been 3 Verona wins, 2 Milan wins and 2 draws in that run. Oh, and striker, nearly giving Milan the lead, gift-wrapped. There's enough danger in orthodox play in the opposition today, let alone miscalculating as the two of them did then. Riker. Amongst the problems that Verona had at the start of the season was a match in Milan against Inter in which they conceded 4 penalties. Inter obliged by missing 3 of them. Gambaro. Now Baresi. Milan have the air of confidence, no surprise in that. Now Van Basten. It's a corner. With half an hour gone. Not really a clear-cut chance as yet for the league leaders. Maybe it will materialise here from Ivani's corner. And it's a goal! Carlo Ancelotti! He's done that before from that distance. And the Milan fans, many of them congregated behind the goal that they're attacking in the first half. Celebrate Carlo Ancelotti's return to the side. He fired away here. Certainly one, maybe 2 deflections before the ball ended up in the middle of the net. It went past Renica and was then diverted. And Ancelotti might be, by the strict rules that they apply here in Italy, deprived of the goal going down to his name in the annals of the game. What matters most of all is that it's 1-0 to the team that really is taking this league apart. Ancelotti hits it long. Now Massaro. Donadoni in close support. Ivani coming through the centre. Donadoni tries his luck. And as Ancelotti has just proved, when you take on the responsibility of shooting, anything is possible. And Verona will look at the way they performed in the match so far. And they really have been found wanting in that respect. They just haven't got within range often enough. And how are they going to claw the game back? One thing they can refer to in their minds is that Milan led when they were last here and were beaten 2-1. But would the goalkeeper have saved it? I think possibly he could claim that he would have done. Well, even in the scoreboard here, they've pointed out poor Andrea Icardi as the culprit for a goal that in most places in the world would go down to Carlo Ancelotti. Donadoni. Gambaro. Rijkaard. Van Basten not allowed to turn by pin. Massaro quickly on the scene again. Might have used an arm in contact with the ball. And the game goes on. Renica's tackle. Fana wanting to keep the ball short and not just boot it away and lose possession. Radu Choyu showing a clean pair of heels to Filippo Galli. Oh, and that's problem that he has, his end product really doesn't match the promise. Whether it's crossing, as he was trying to do then, or in shooting for goal, he was in Romania's World Cup squad. And he's got time on his side, but Verona may not have so many promising positions in this particular match. But he sped away from Galli then. Fana now in the wars. There's a trip by Serena. And a pretty cynical one too on Gambaro. We're into stoppage time now. Just time for Milan to take the free kick before half-time. Tempo's beginning to fray here, and also the referee reacted quite rightly to a severe clash of heads. And Maldini in particular in distress. It was a genuine challenge for the ball. We've seen so often how Milan can overpower opponents with their aerial force. Alessandro Renica. Well, with half-time so close, Maldini may be checked out before they make a decision about a substitution. We've now had an extra 3 minutes beyond the 45. And it's the first half that even with the stoppages and the injury, that Milan will have mixed feelings about. They're obviously delighted to be where they are, a goal up, but they haven't given the share of ball that they've had really imposed themselves on the match, as the golf in league positions suggest they might be capable of doing. It's certainly not been to the total satisfaction of Fabio Capello, who's been bouncing up and down from his seat in the dugout. That's a fair indication really of what I'm talking about. The positioning and the willingness has been there, and the work has been there, but the passing at times has been a little off-key for Milan. But they had their stroke of luck when Ancelotti fired at goal, and the ball flew through a packed penalty area and was finally diverted in by the former Milan player Icardi to give Milan the one-goal advantage that they take to the dressing room at half-time. Ruud Gullit there, still waiting for the call from the substitutes bench. Verona clearly dispirited, but they should look in the recent record books to know that it's not over yet. At half-time, it's Verona. Marco Simone is on for Milan for the second half. Simone, who scored the Milan goal on that fateful occasion the last time they played here. He's number 14. Gregori, the Verona goalkeeper, has come out with that damaged hamstring strapped, but he's prepared to continue. Simone, who's been on the fringe of things for a couple of years now, and actually had a run at the end of last season when he scored 4 goals in 6 games. Here's Donadoni. Ancelotti. Magrin has come into the fray for Verona. He's a player of some pedigree too. He was signed by Juventus to replace Michel Platini when Platini called it a day. It was an impossible task, but it was a measure of the stature that Magrin had with his previous club Atalanta, that he was the one who was signed to try and do that job. Paolo Maldini not out for the second half after the head injury. Simone is fleet of foot. Here's Evani. And the crowd howling for the game to be stopped. And all credit to Ancelotti, who I think deliberately put the ball out of play then. Seemed to hurt himself slipping then, but it's Fana who comes off, and the expected change to involve Claudio Lunini. Lunini in his second season with Verona. He's scored once this season. Very important phase of the match this. If Milan can reassert themselves to the tune of another goal, and for all the support that Verona are getting here, and there's plenty of that in this well-appointed stadium, and for all the optimism that I'm sure their players still feel about the game, it really would be a hugely difficult task, and Milan have an opportunity now to seize that second goal. Massaro this time has gone on the outside. Evani lurking for the other side, but it goes to Massaro. Donadoni virtually from the same angle. Or Rijkaard, it was nearly presented to him, and the second time, and taken off his very toe by Magrin. Good play by Davide Pellegrini. Van Basten left frustrated. Verona looking to find something extra here. Pellegrini's done it against Milan before. Admittedly against a very depleted side by the time he got his goal to win the last league match between the two sides, and Van Basten buffeted by Pin, but the way he went down suggested he was feeling for the contact to influence the referee. Cleared by Rijkaard. Renica asking Pellegrini to get on his bike. But the running of Davide Pellegrini gave Enzo Gambaro a problem and has led to a Verona corner. To be taken by Magrin. Pin going for it. And Renica is surely offside, surely. Verona are furious. But Milan, as is their way, pushed out at the corner. And if Renica wasn't offside, surely Raducioiu was as well, but I think they were both caught. It's that Parisi was moving out, in fact might have moved a little late as far as Renica was concerned, but Raducioiu was further forward than that. Renica back doing the intercepting. Serena. And that was played without looking by Luca Pellegrini. It was a less than fraternal pass, it gave his brother no chance. Donadoni. And anxious to get to the ball. Donadoni not accepting the apology. Bologna was doing his job, just holding Donadoni up, and Magrin was a bit impetuous. This is Simone. Rijkaard. Very anxious to get the ball upfield again. In doing this at times, Verona are in danger of kicking possession away. Simone. There's a chance for him. Oh, it's hit the bar. Well, the odds were against Marco Simone then. But he very nearly made light of them. He had a look to see what was on in the centre, but once he'd slipped Luca Pellegrini here, he was looking for a bit of personal glory, and he almost achieved it. Beat the goalkeeper. And the ball banging back into play off the Verona crossbar. Magrin. Is that the signal that Milan are finding themselves again? Ancelotti. Donadoni had a look about the shot with the right foot. Went on further to have a crack with the left. Pin, a great servant for a number of years with Fiorentina. Here's Davide Pellegrini to Magrin. Sweeping it on for Bologna. And they do have players forward, even though they didn't make the most of the move that time. And now they give Milan a taste of their own medicine. Simone is offside and is on the receiving end of some criticism from Fabio Capello there for not really looking at the opposition. Eugenio Fascetti, I'm sure, will be heartened by Verona's approach in the second half, but worried that having more of the ball hasn't meant a better share of the chances. Baresi's header, connected initially by Gambaro. Pin, Magrin, who could be the architect of a recovery here. Certainly not one of his better efforts. That's a marvellous ball by Van Basten, but Gregori had read it. And now he's in difficulties, knowing that he certainly couldn't foul Simone without any chance of staying on the field. Van Basten, who knocked the ball in behind the Verona back line a moment or two ago with great perception. A tackle by Serena initially on the surging run from Gambaro. The problem for Verona, for all their effort, is they are playing against, at this stage of the season, the best team in Italy. Some would say the best club team in the world. Even though they're without Tassotti suspended, Costa Curta suspended, Albertini suspended, Maldini injured, and Hullet still recuperating amongst the unused substitutes. The clock is ticking on, and Massaro is doing a good job in his change of role in the second half, but head down, he ran into trouble, and now he knows that he's got to race back. But Verona haven't been able to catch him out. It's Massaro in the right place again with the header. There's a lunge by Luca Pellegrini, who brought down Van Basten, and it seems certain that Verona are going to be penalised then, but Van Basten must have done something wrong in the first place. Davide Pellegrini running down another blind alley. And the man just don't let you take them on like that. Van Basten, charge down. legally by Davide Pellegrini. Here's Lunini. He's got 4 around him. And he's got the ball across, and Raducioiu finds that Sebastiano Rossi was able to intervene, but it was persistent play by Claudio Lunini in difficult circumstances, as Milan again shut the door in the face of Verona. It's easy to talk about the twinkling talents they have in their attack, the sophistication of their style in midfield, but they're great at the back too, and they're needing to be in this match where, in the creative sense, all has not been as Capello would have liked. Lunini, nicely down to Bologna by Raducioiu, but there wasn't an extra runner then. Bologna, one of the young brigade here, in a fairly senior side, certainly in terms of experience. Rijkaard. And here is Simone. Van Basten in the centre. Simone going his own way. The referee went down in before Simone did. Certainly took the steam out of any possible penalty appeals. I don't think Simone, who wasn't fouled in any case, had the nerve to confront somebody who was going to help him back on his feet. Goal kick. Another minor difficulty, really, survived by Baresi. Well, all credit to the Milan support as well. They've seen their team play better, and they recognise that maybe a little bit of help is called for here to see them through the closing stages. Lunini. Well, Gambaro was bought at a cost of £3 million from Parma, where he played excellently last season. And that's the measure of Milan, that they can have a £3 million player on the bench ready to be called upon when there's a player out suspended. Gambaro replacing Tassotti. Filippo Galli, who's done so much for this club, a perfect figure to come in for Costa Curta. And Ancelotti for Albertini. Hasn't made a great deal of difference, really, when you've got men of that stature. And Donadoni still keeping the number 10 shirt at Hullit's expense. And they know if they fall too far below the accepted standards, they will lose their place. And I do think that Fabio Capello, in his summing up of Milan's performance today, will be critical. But they're still leading and finishing the game on an attacking note, unless Verona can steal a point at stoppage time. It really needs a show of initiative from the home players now. And better passing than that from Pin. Massaro. The Bologna ball king, Van Basten. And the game goes on with Simone. Still Simone. Well, he had the opportunity there to end any lingering doubts, but Gregori came roaring off his line. It was great goalkeeping, but the Another show from Simone in his involvement in the second half, to say that he wants to stay in the senior side as well. He's hit the bar, he's left defenders in his wake then, and Luca Pellegrini didn't dare get the tackle in, knowing that he was sure to bring him down. So it's a rousing note for Milan to end the game on. Their 11th victory in 16 games is about to be confirmed. And they're happy to have the ball in this area of the pitch. Almost 2 minutes of stoppage time play. Milan will look to their defenders today, I'm sure, to heap the praise upon. That's where the consistency has been. Luca Pellegrini and Van Basten. Tumble. The last act of the game. The referee has brought it to a halt, and the league leaders march on. It takes all sorts of performances in all sorts of conditions to win championships, and on days when you're not at your flowing best, if you can still win, it shows the style, it shows the class. If you're without a player of this caliber, it shows the resources that are available. And Milan won it with a goal in the latter stages of the first half, which will go down in Italy as an own goal by Icardi from Ancelotti's shot. Verona huffed and puffed in the second half. They got the ball past Sebastiano Rossi through Renica. The goal disallowed for offside. And Milan were very, very strong in defence. And that was the reason they held on to win by 1-0. Juventus have been the only club capable of matching Milan's scorching pace. The side in second place away in Sardinia, and soon carrying the fight to Cagliari, Yelpo equal to Gallia's strong shot. But then the goalkeeper left a gap by his near post, and Roberto Baggio had the technique to thread the ball home. Luigi De Agostini, who'd made the opportunity, and Baggio paying mutual homage. 2 Mattioli free kicks then put some fear into the Juventus defenders. And they survived the second thanks to Tacconi's right-hand post, as Napoli, who was signed from Juventus, seemed sure to equalise. And in the next attack, no doubt, Furicano, Cagliari sweeper, scoring his first goal for the club. Salvatore Schillaci led the search to regain the lead in the second half, Milan's form giving Juventus little margin for error. And here, Pierluigi Casiraghi's miss kick was costly, Juventus dropping a point against the club under threat of relegation. Well, how would Napoli react after their mauling in Milan last week? Fiorentina feeling the backlash. Padovano past Pioli. Zola connecting too well with the cross. That deserved a goal. When it came 6 minutes after half-time, it was Zola who broke down the left this time, and his cutback rammed in by Massimo Crippa. Fiorentina fighting back, and Galli, out of position, made a great recovery to prevent Batistuta beating him. But still Zola putting the zip into Napoli, robbed here by his teammate Padovano, blocking the shot. And then, in the closing seconds, he was beaten by the San Paolo pitch, the ball bobbling up at the crucial moment. All credit to Napoli, though, after their crash last week. Foggia have been falling down the table. Defensively, they've had some disasters. But as Genoa soon found out, they do know how to attack. Cody Spotty coming forward here at the end of a fine piece of approach play. Genoa 5th and 5 places above Foggia, surviving Rambaudi's header and needing Braglia at his best to foil Shalimov. A rare Genoa raid here, led by Ruotolo, before Foggia went in front. It was a mistake by Carlos Aguilera, back helping his defence. Presenting the ball to Barone, and his shot fell perfectly for Petrescu, the Romanian international. Aguilera trying to play his way out of trouble, more used to action in the opposing penalty area. And in the end, Petrescu placed his shot perfectly. Foggia forced the pace again in the second half, Baiano to the fore. And with better finishing, he could have sunk Genoa without trace. They sent on Yorio to try to grab an equaliser, but Mancini kept a rare clean sheet in Foggia's goal, their first win in 6 games. It's been a frustrating time for followers of Inter, and the crowd turned on the club president Pellegrini as Bari, through Soda, almost took the lead at San Siro. Inter, without a win since mid-November, weren't taking their chances in this game. Klinsmann's effort turned over. And then Massimo Ciocci, right under the bar, contrived to head the ball against it. Further anxiety for Inter when Lothar Matthäus also found the frame of the goal, and it looked as though Bari would survive until Berti presented Klinsmann with only his second goal of the season with 4 minutes left. And that was followed by the dismissal of Bari's Boban for a second bookable offence. A win at last, but troubled times at Inter. Torino and Atalanta level on points, Atalanta unbeaten in away games since the opening day of the season, but lucky to survive here when Lentini and Schifo set up Venturin. But there was no mistake right on half-time. Pasquale Bruno, who's been suspended since that sending off against Juventus in November, picking out Roberto Pollicano, who also served a long sentence out of the side for offences in that Turin derby. Atalanta's Minardo almost repaired the damage here, but it was a sorry day for the South Americans on view. Brazil's Casagrande letting Minardo pull off a defensive miracle early in the second half. And his fellow countryman, Bianchesi, couldn't convert this chance for Atalanta. And then more embarrassment for Casagrande, completely missing Schifo's centre. His face even redder when substitute Giovanelli earned Atalanta their 4th consecutive draw and continued their achievements in away matches. Roma's indifferent results a major cause for concern in the capital, and the lack of goals from Rudi Völler. But the great German striker finally got off the mark for the season with help from Thomas Hessler. Völler didn't take full advantage from a succession of chances, Di Mauro doing the spade work here, and Völler driving over a gaping goal. Hessler lending a hand again here, and this time Völler's personal crusade for glory stopped by Rampula. He began the season with an injury and has suffered with Roma's poor run, but this second goal might well herald a Rudi Völler revival. 3-0 with 17 minutes to go. Aldair, the Brazilian defender, waltzing through to round off Roma's biggest league win of the season. No pictures from Parma this week. The bottom club Ascoli capitulating to 2 second-half goals in a 5-minute spell from Alessandro Melli and Lorenzo Minotti. Ascoli's Aloisi sent off in injury time. A season's best though for Sampdoria, a 3rd consecutive win. Lazio beaten narrowly by the Mancini-Vialli telepathy. Vialli's 8th of the season after 6 minutes. Pietro Viercovod, a scorer against Fiorentina last week, venturing upfield again. Much of Lazio's invention came from Germany's Thomas Doll. Melchiori in midfield for Lazio instead of Sklosa. His chip presenting only a minor problem to Pagliuca. Lazio with a short corner now. Sergio unmarked and his swerving shot bringing Pagliuca into play again. Into the second half and Manini bundling down substitute Neri, who was on for Ruben Sosa, the regular penalty taker. Doll taking on that responsibility, only for Pagliuca to produce a really marvellous save to keep out a well-directed kick. Vialli a whisker away from his second goal. He was the match winner, but it was Pagliuca who protected that second point. In fact, Sampdoria move up only 1 place to 12th. but it's so congested in the middle of the table that they're only 2 points behind Lazio, who are 4. Of the teams below them, only Cagliari collected any reward, edging closer to Verona thanks to that 1-1 draw at home to Juventus. Moving upwards, Parma from 9th to 5th, Inter 8th to 6th, and Foggia also up 2 places. Juventus now 3 points behind Milan, with the season reaching the halfway mark next weekend. Verona's Andrea Icardi played more than 100 games for Milan between 1980 and 1986 and must have thought he'd scored his last goal for his hometown club. But by diverting Carlo Ancelotti's shot, Icardi was unwittingly responsible for Milan's latest victory. A reminder, a week after that delightful demolition of Napoli, that even the best need a touch of luck as well.